So today I'm going to go through some memory training exercises, and one exercise I really love in particular is using visualization. Now, if you're working on visualization, what you're really doing is you're strengthening your memory. So I want to show you some exercises to do that using the Major System. And if you haven't watched the Major System video, I'll put the link down below. Go watch that, because then this exercise will make more sense and you'll be able to do it. In order to use the Major System, you need to be able to understand and encode the numbers. Let's take, I'm just going to put some random digits up here. Okay, so that's just a random digit number. What I do to train, and this is what I did for the memory competitions, when I was doing really badly, what I did was I was using the Memory Palace, but all I was doing was memorizing for the memory competition. Now, of course, that's what you do, right? But the problem was that in memory competitions, we get numbers like this in rows of 40 digits, right? 40 digits, 40 digits, 40 digits. And if we make one mistake, we don't get 39 out of 40, we get 20 out of 40. If we make two mistakes, we get 0. When we memorize, right, most of us anyway, we pair up the digits, right? So if we make one mistake with a pair of digits, we get 0. And that's the problem. If we get 0, 0, 0, 0, well, you haven't got much of a score, even though you probably memorize hundreds of numbers. If you're making mistakes in each row, you can end up getting 0. That messed me up for many years. For 6 years, I was trying to win a memory competition. I was memorizing twice as much as everyone else, but because I was making a mistake here and there, I was losing marks. And I wouldn't get to first place. What I had to do was I had to think differently and say, okay, what's a better way of training? What's a better way to memorize without really memorizing? So let's take a look. Now, the number one thing, right, and I go through this in my other videos, is you've got, let's say this is your head, right? You're smiling. And when you memorize something, you've got bits of information in there, numbers, and that's recall. The memorization process, let's just call that M. If it's not done well, it's going to end up broken up. And if the memorization process is broken up, guess what happens to recall? Recall gets broken up, so you either remember or you don't. And that's what was happening to me. I was using memory techniques, but because my memorization process wasn't that great, the techniques weren't giving me the best recall. Now, what do I mean by techniques? So I spoke about the Memory Palace. If you haven't watched my Memory Palace videos, go watch that. It'll be down in the description. I was using a Memory Palace to hold and store the information. So the techniques are a storage spot, but the way I was putting it in was not effective. So what memory training will do is help you become a more effective memorizer, help you become a more efficient and effective memorizer so that you can have better recall. That's what it's about. How does this exercise help? Well, with these numbers, right, I pair these up. And as you know, let's just put another digit there. And as you know, these digits represent an image from my Major System. Now, 1 is a T or D, 4 is an R, so I could say door, right? That's my first image. What I do is, instead of just saying door, I visualize a door, but what do I do to it? It might be really hard. It might be made of something, wood, but it might be also made of foam, maybe. It might slam into my fingers. Have you ever had a door slam into your fingers? It hurts. So what I'm doing is I'm making this door memorable. I'm making it memorable. I'm visualizing as much as I can, and then once I do that, I'll go on to the next one. So 2 is a N sound, and 8 is an F sound. So here I'm going to have knife. Right? Knife. So you can either visualize a knife, or maybe you're cutting onions with a knife. Right? You have to be careful here. If I'm cutting onions, I don't want to make onion the hero of my story. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to see that blade, maybe of the knife. Maybe it's really shiny. Maybe it's really sharp. Think of the attributes of a knife. What does it do? It's sharp, you can cut yourself. So, you know, if you can visualize it, you can feel it. Maybe you cut your finger. How does that feel? I know we're getting into the gross territory, but if you can feel something when you're visualizing it, that becomes way more memorable than just seeing a static image. And then the next one, 7 and 5. 7's a k sound or a g, and 5 is an L. So for me, I could have glue, right? G, G, and U. So glue is sticky, so I could stick glue onto something. Now notice that I'm not memorizing here. I'm not going knife stuck into the door, or I'm not saying the knife was glued to somewhere. I'm not making a story together. What I'm doing is I'm just simply creating an image, but the image is memorable. And I keep going. Soap, right? S or Z sound and a P. What are the attributes of soap? It's slippery, maybe it's suds, you're soaping your whole body. What I do is I go through and visualize every single one, right? Really slowly, and try and incorporate everything. And I do that for many, like I've got a sheet, you can go to my website, right? I've put the description down below where you can go to the download section and download these numbers in rows of 40, right? There's 1,000 of them on there. It shouldn't take you that long, like probably 10, 15 minutes to go and visualize the numbers, maybe even longer if you're doing it really slow. But what I do is I go through the whole sheet and visualize those images. Of course, you're going to get repeat images. Glue might come up somewhere else, 75 and so on. That doesn't matter. What matters is you visualizing to the best of your ability. And then what happens, if you do that for a long period of time, then you start memorizing. Guess what's going to happen? Your visual capacity has improved. So when you go and memorize, it's going to be a lot stronger. Hence, stronger recall. Right? So that's a really good exercise. Go to my website, download the numbers. And what you can also do with the numbers, once you've finished a whole page, you can even print it out. You can press refresh on your screen and it'll give you a new set of numbers. So it's fantastic. Try that exercise. I've got a ton more of memory training exercises. For now, we want to strengthen memory. How do we do it? Visualize the peg words. These are called peg words. Probably thinking, well, Tansel, do I need to memorize the major system? You know, it's going to be slow if I keep looking up what I've written down on the major system and so on. I've got another video for that, how to memorize the major system. So if you want to check that out, check the description, keep practicing. How long do you have to do this for? Now, I did mention, do a whole page, but you might not have that much time. And you don't want to just do this for, 10, 20 seconds. Right? You want to actually train your brain. So what I suggest is doing this for at least 5 minutes. At least 5 minutes of visualization practice. Now, that could be 5 minutes just visualizing these 3 things. I doubt it, but you know what I mean. So 5 good, wholesome minutes. It could take you, a row of 40 might take you maybe a minute or 2 minutes, whatever. You can maybe do 2 rows. Maybe you want to do 10 rows of 40. It's up to you, but try and get at least 5 minutes. Me, I train for hours, so if it was up to me to keep doing this every day, I'd probably do maybe 20 minutes to half an hour because of work and all that sort of stuff. So 20 minutes, half an hour to me, 1 hour at the most, because this really helps. How I discovered this was I was on the plane to London to compete in the World Memory Championships, and I'd run out of locations. So I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to use up my memory location, so I thought I'm just going to visualize each number. And when I did, I actually did a lot better than I expected in the competition. Have a think about that, have a play around with it, and just have some fun. Don't stress about it. There's so many other exercises that I'll go through on this channel, so keep a lookout for that. And if you want to hear more, jump on my website, tanselali.com. I'll have more resources there. I've got some lessons on there as well. It's really cool. I'm building something awesome, so stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.